Okay, why do I smell... Oh, no, never mind. Excuse
Why
me.
do you smell?
No, you don't understand. Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
Like, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I've been recording.
Oh, damn. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the video.
Welcome.
Today. Welcome, everybody. So, we could... Oh, my God. Welcome, everybody. We finished Legacy. We finished Hogwarts Legacy. And we are here to give our thoughts. Now moving on to my partner.
Game review.
Game review. We'll be talking about what we thought about the game.
I'm not cutting any of that out. So,
Right.
would you like to answer for the people why you smell now?
What? No. It's pretty simple.
Why do
I
I
said
smell?
I smell like I was gonna say I smell something.
Stinky?
No.
Anyways, you had something to say?
No, you had something to say.
No, you had... Frank? Say it.
What?
Say it.
Say what? What am I saying? I don't know what I'm saying.
Okay, we're back. Are you gonna talk?
What? Hold on a minute. Pause it again. Oh man, this game.
This is gonna be like 30 minutes of bullshit and 2 minutes of game review.
Oh man, that legacy.
Where'd you go? Hold on. Are you gonna talk?
Yeah. I'm gonna throw up. Okay. Oh man, that like.
Can you just talk like a normal person?
Okay. Alright, now that we're done with the Legacy game, it has been so long and so many episodes of us recording. How do you know how many hours of gameplay there are in total and how many we've actually What?
70 hours.
What? I didn't say 70 hours. I said many.
70 hours. We've been playing this game for 70 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
70 hours. And how many in total is the actual game? Because I feel like it felt long, but it was meant to definitely like I feel like it went by a little quickly.
We started this all the way at the beginning of August, and it's already the beginning of January. So we've been playing this game for 5 months, about 2 episodes a week, 49 episodes in total, 70 hours of gameplay. That's crazy. But it does feel like it's been longer than that.
Okay, so
just talk like a normal person.
Okay, so Hogwarts Legacy is about 26.5 hours in length, and if we do all the other extracurricular stuff, then we get 68 hours for 100% completion.
Ah, so we're wow.
So
now hold on a second. I was gonna say we're about there, but we're not at 100% completion. We're at about 33% completion. I looked at that stuff last episode, and we are about a third complete with everything. Like, all the collectible stuff and just completion in general, we're about a third done. Like, we're done with all the quests, but about a third done with this game, realistically.
Damn. Oh my goodness.
So what I'm hearing is we've been doing a bunch of bullshit.
We've been doing a lot of bullshit.
And procrastinating.
Yeah. But on to the review.
You're so robotic. Well, I remember back in the beginning when we first started this game, what was it, like $85? What'd you pay for it?
$85?
It's definitely
yeah,
over
around
75.
there. Yeah, it was over 70, yeah.
So I estimated about, I also said this last episode, that we spent about $1 per hour of gameplay, which I think is pretty good. Especially considering all the hard work the developers put into the game. I think that's a pretty good deal right there.
Yeah, as far as AAA games go.
But basically, we're breaking this review down into 3 categories. We're breaking it down into the style of the game, the gameplay and the mechanisms, and the story. So we're going to talk about style first because that's the easiest and the most simple.
Yeah.
And I think you'd know way more about this than I would, which is why you're going to do the majority of the review here, because you want to talk about, like, let's just start out with character design. The one thing I could say about that is I think compared to a lot of other games, there were a lot of options. Like when we first started, and we named me Whifflesniff, named Whifflesniff, remember that?
Oh yeah, all the cosmetics.
I completely forgot about my last name. But they had a lot of options for customizing your character. From colors to, like, hairstyles and all kinds of stuff. I really like that.
I mean, I know there are other games that are higher budget and higher teams than this one that have, like, a whole lot of customizations, but this is one that I was surprised by what you could do with making your own character, which is good, because the whole thing is, like, you want to be able to, like, create your own persona in the wizarding world and be able to see yourself like roam around the whole place. So I'm glad that they had a lot of cosmetics, because if they didn't, which I'm sure they could have added more, but if they didn't have any cosmetics, it would have been kind of disappointing to be stuck with some of the options that we probably would have got set up with.
I'm just talking about designing your character, like the very first thing you do, like facial structure and eye color and things like that. I'm not even onto customizing like your clothing and things like that. I think there were a lot of options in with the cosmetic stuff too. There's a lot of options, but like, if anything, it could have been more detailed. They did a lot. They did do a lot. I'm definitely not complaining about it at all. The fact that I managed to make a character that actually looks like me, it, like, props for that, because I always have trouble with that in games.
Yeah, I'm surprised by the number of hairstyles, because hardly do you see games that have, like, as many hairstyles as any other options. But that's good. I do still think they have this uncanny, like, Polar Express feel about them.
Oh yeah, they're soulless. Their eyes are
yeah,
soulless.
I can't pinpoint why though.
Well, I just told you why.
I mean, sure, they're soulless, but what is it about them that makes them look so, like, mannequin-esque?
I think, personally, my opinion, my theory on that is when you don't have dilating pupils, because that's a lot of work for a game to do. But I think with movies or with games or anything, when the pupils aren't constantly refocusing on different things, that might be what makes them soulless, because your pupils aren't moving around.
Yeah.
That's what I think. But what about the design of the environment?
I actually had me by surprise. I didn't think the map was going to be as open world as it is, which, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could make it even more open world. The map, there's in some other games, could be twice the size of that one, but for what they had, I'm surprised by how much of the castle there was. I was expecting the castle to be smaller. I was expecting you to have only some areas that you can go to, like only some areas of the forest, only
Oh no,
like
they
some
did a
references from movies.
great job at mapping out the castle, for sure. And I think the world in general was massive. I was saying this in the end of the last episode too, is that we didn't even explore half of the map. Like, we probably explored a third of the map, if that. To the point, and I mean just like flying through it and actually seeing it. Like, I can only remember about a third of the map. And when you look at all that we've actually explored, you know, there was a point like 15 episodes ago where we opened up like the whole second half of the world that we never had access to before. And we barely spent any time there. At that point, I kind of felt like I was rushing to finish the game. Wish I'd spent more time exploring all of that.
Mhm.
So there's still a lot that we've yet to see, and a lot that I've yet to do. But the map is massive, and that's why I was getting lazy with it, is because it's so big. It feels impossible to do it all.
Yeah, I feel like that despite how far you can go, a lot of times we just end up wandering into the same style of like chamber or ruin, like little caverns. They all just kind of
Yeah.
bleed into each other, and it sucks because I would have been it would have been cool to be able to, I don't know, ride the train.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I don't know, even if it's not far, just like to parts of the map. If you it just felt like riding, I would have liked if maybe there were other more like creative missions the further out you go, because there's times where it's like, I'm missing this thing, go to this side of the map and find this thing for me. It's like, could we have, I don't know, something a little more magical? But I mean, I don't know what to expect. Most of the magic comes from like the castle, so I guess that makes sense.
And I really, really, really like the castle and everything. Like, all the rooms, all the passages. Thinking about, from a game developer's perspective, how you actually map out all of those rooms and passageways, I have no idea, because sometimes it seemed like you would take 4 rights and end up in somewhere completely different, which would just not be possible if you're making like a realistic floor plan. Which I think is what they did, because it would be really complicated if you made 4 rights and they had to completely render out this whole new universe. I don't know what that's called, but basically the illusion that you're in a place that is different but doesn't really seem possible to exist. So I can't even wrap my head around how they've done that, but it's really amazing. I really like the castle.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't leave out anything.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't restrain themselves to stuff that was in the movies just because of the movies. Like the what was it? The Room of Requirement felt definitely more implemented as a game mechanic. Um, I did feel like some of the classmates were a little lacking, or maybe we just didn't bother to do all the other characters. But I don't know. I felt like instead of it being, well, I guess the only time we ever interact with the other characters is when we're with Sebastian, and then you have what's his name, ominous, whatever. That's the only time you have more than one other person with you. But the castle's pretty big. I like that you could actually learn spells from the professors. That's actually good, but would have been cool to like learn other variety of potions.
I wish
and
there
other
was
skill sets.
more hands-on training, like when it comes to, oh, you've got this quest to do, and this quest is learning this spell, like learning Bombarda, and then it ended up being a cutscene. I wish it was more actual playing, and I wish that learning the spells themselves, you normally just have to like drag your mouse and press space and F and stuff like that, and then you're done. I wish learning the spell took more skill and was more fun than just doing that. You can go on. I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay. The castle looks good, and I'm glad, again, they didn't restrict themselves to what the castle looks like for the sets in the movies. They actually have
Oh yeah, I
like,
remembered.
well, what was it? What was it?
Just that one of the reasons I really enjoyed playing this game and walking through like the Hogwarts castle is because I know that it's all pretty much like common or public knowledge, all the rooms in the castle and the layout in the castle and stuff like that, because I'm sure J.K. Rowling's talked about it and the directors have talked about it and everything. But you don't get to see all of this stuff in the movies. You don't get to hear about all these rooms and passageways in the books, and you don't get to know the exact layout. The fact that they were able to actually make a map of it, and for you to see things that you've never seen before, to see parts of the castle that you've never seen before, that's just really cool, especially for someone like me who was always a really big Harry Potter fan, always really wanted to be in that universe and explore the castle, and then I get to do that in this game and see stuff I've never seen before, and it's not disappointing in any way, because some of it does still hold up to what I know from the movies and what I know from the books.
There are parts outside the castle that are kind of interesting. There's a lot of stuff that you get to interact with, and I'm glad that the castle doesn't feel dead a lot of times. Almost every time there's something that makes the castle feel lively, and that's kind of tricky to do sometimes. Like suits of armor that kind of move. You have the cats that roam around everywhere. You have all the particle effects of butterflies and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that makes it feel lively. The only thing that feels lifeless is the look on all the people's faces, but we already know that. Lighting's pretty good too. The way I remember mentioning this in an earlier episode. When you go from an indoor scenery to outdoors and the exposure, it adjusts to the brightness of the sun. That's pretty cool. I don't see that done a whole lot, and that's like for it to be just that little thing makes it feel like, oh wow, there's attention to detail. It feels like I'm actually going out somewhere that's really bright.
Real life.
Yeah, you go out and it's your eyes adjust. It's bright at first, and then you get adapt to the brightness, and then looking at any rooms that are dark. Yeah, a dark room. You're outside and you see a doorway to a room or any like entrance to a cave, and it's dark at first. It's like pitch black, and then you walk in. You kind of adjust to the darkness.
And I like that you have the ability to use Lumos, and it actually like interacts with your environment in such an accurate and realistic way.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were talking about the people, the one thing I don't like is in that last episode, in that final cutscene, what I noticed is everybody's in the Great Hall and they're announcing who won the House Cup. And when they announce that I'm the cause, that I'm the one that won it, all of the Ravenclaw students run up to me, but all of the Ravenclaw students are about 6 students. So, you would think that. And then when you're looking at like an overview of the tables and stuff, there's like 6 kids at each table. You would think, and it's kind of common sense, that my class is made up of more than like 48 students,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a big school, and we constantly see tons and tons of people in the hallways. So why can they not fit all of the AI and the NPCs at the tables, especially when it's a cutscene? You should have more people rendered out and be present there. Whereas I get it's harder to do if they're actual NPCs walking around in the hallways. That's going to take more work. That's going to take more on the developers' sides. But if it's a cutscene, don't be lazy with it. Like, we know there are more kids that go to this school than the 6 that are sitting at the table.
Yeah, I think exactly. If it's a cutscene, you should be able to adjust things a little bit so that way things aren't as bland. Add more NPCs, add a crowd, because like it's a school, and if everyone's organized in one place, they should all be there. But unless it's a situation where they're playing the cutscene in real time, and that's why they can't do it. But I feel like that's restricting what they can do. But yeah, I guess I can excuse there being very few people when you're like exploring the castle, because
but there were lots of people exploring the castle.
Yeah, like, so when they're all scattered like that.
Think about the Ravenclaw common room. Whenever I would come out, there would be like 20 NPCs in there.
Yeah, so it makes sense why they're like, you realize why it feels like there's so few people whenever you're in a room. It's because they're everywhere. They're outside. They're on the bridge. They're on the ground. They're in every room. There's everybody.
And with
That's why
that logic, you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students throughout this entire castle. So why are there less than 50 students in the Great Hall when they're announcing the cup, the winner of the House Cup?
Yeah, it's a small thing, but it makes a difference.
So what about user interface?
I think it's fitting. I think the way all the little art around the frames of the icons fit. I think the design of the icons is fitting. I think the main menu, it being like a book, is fitting. And it doesn't look too complicated.
I really enjoyed how when we first got access to our challenges, our map, our quests, all of that stuff, it was Professor Weasley gave us a field guide, and then we were able to access all that stuff. I like how they integrated that into the game instead of just being like, oh hey, you have a map for no reason at all. You have a mini map.
Yeah. Good thing they had a mini map. Anytime there's like, it's funny, they have I'm sure other games do it as well, but you have Spidey sense technically, where like this spell crest or whatever shows up whenever you need to dodge or whatever. Animal whisperer. I don't know if that's part of the user interface, but I treat it as like just symbols.
I remember that one time that I spent absolutely forever trying to complete that dueling club, and to move it, had to change the difficulty to easy, and the way that it was, I wouldn't even say giving me hints, because it wasn't even hints at that point, but the way that it was giving me hints on what to do and how to do it was that was really bad. I can't imagine playing the entire game like that.
Yeah. But I mean, like, over time, I mean, I'm sure if you were to go back to the battle or the little practicing chamber now, you'd probably be way better than you were the first time you went in there.
Yeah, and I'm still not even really good at, like, key combos and stuff like that. I know they try to teach you, like, hey, use Accio and then use this and that and this and that. But my fingers are fat and my keyboard is small, and I'm not good at key combos.
I don't even think it's just you, because when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, well, yeah, if I played a game like this, I could probably get used to it and learn pretty fast, like with any other game. But then I realized, no, that's not true, because I was gonna say, like, most games like that, you play on a controller, very few buttons, and you kind of do a combination. But this is like, I don't even know how you're supposed to play this on console, because this feels like you're supposed to use your whole keyboard, and you're swapping through a ton of different options. It's like, that's hard with that as many spells that you have.
I was just gonna say maybe this would work way better on a controller, but I'm not good at handling the controller. I'm not used to buttons or anything like that, so it definitely wouldn't be for me. But think about it when you're on a keyboard. You have to use WASD to move around. Then you've got Q to block. And that's a whole nother thing that I never even really use, because then my fingers get misplaced and whatever. You've got
you click off your screen.
You've got Z to pick up an item and throw it at someone. You've got X to use your ancient magic. You've got G to heal, to drink your potion and heal. You have your 1, 2, 3, 4 slots to use your spells. And then you scroll on your mouse to change your spell set. You've got 4 spell sets and 4 spells in each spell set. So you got to think about that. Then you have shift to run, control to dodge, like click control to dodge, hold control to like super dodge. Then you've got tab. If you hold tab and then you move your mouse in any of the 8 directions they have on there, you've got like 8 different options. You can use certain plants, you can use certain potions, and then also in tab you have your beast and your broom mount. And then if you accidentally press cap lock, which is something that I've been doing a whole ton, that locks you onto a certain target. And that's really bad for me. I don't like that because then someone's attacking me from one side and I can't run away because my screen is stuck looking at this person.
Hmm.
So I've got a plethora. I've got like 15 different keys to press all on this one side, and I've got 5 fingers to do it. Oh, I didn't even mention like space to jump and stuff. I've got like 5 fingers to do it, and then not only each key has like 2 different uses. So that's a whole, and you know, I've never really liked games where you move with your WASD and then you look around with your mouse, because it's 2 different things that you need to get used to. I understand why they do it, and I think that ultimately it's better, but it's harder to get used to for me when I'm used to playing games like Animal Jam where you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So it's just a whole lot to learn, and that's really hard when you have all these keys. There's probably some more that I didn't mention too. Oh yeah, R for Revelio. Things like that. Tons and tons of different keys and each thing that the keys do. And when you're in combat and you have to think fast, it's hard to press all of those things, especially in combinations, and know exactly what you're doing. It's just really difficult.
That's really difficult because when I knew it was difficult when I saw you had to organize like your different spell bars, like just the row of spells that you can use, because you have to assign them to like specific
That's what I'm calling
keys.
my spell sets.
Yeah. So the fact that you have to do that already comes with challenges, because it's like if you were to actually do it in real life, you got to scroll through a glossary in your book to like prep to that way you can do it. I could imagine if they had it to be like a toggle option that using your, oh no, that would be crazy. Imagine using your mouse and drawing out the symbol and then it happens. That'd be crazy. Imagine remembering that. That'd be insane. I don't know how they do that on a controller, but for a mouse, draw the symbol and then aim, and then you have to you're using the mouse so you can look around too.
Yeah, it's crazy. But is there anything else on style that you want to talk about before we move on?
Oh, so lighting is really good. I feel like they did a great job on lighting. I already talked about that with how they do auto exposure and suns, the night and day, all these little things that glow with the fire and the spell that you use to light all the candles, even the lightning. And then I also like the changing of well, no, I don't think it changes weather. I just like that there's constantly a day and night cycle. I also like the creature designs. I think a lot of the creature designs are really good. The moon calf, whatever, kind of freaks me out. But all the creature designs are pretty cool, and I like that you get to interact with them.
Yeah. Okay. So what about gameplay and mechanisms? So start off with, what do you think about the difficulty of the game and as that relates to enemies and bosses? Because here's what I thought. I think that the hardest ones for me were not even the hardest bosses, or the ones that were supposed to be the hardest. Like that end boss, like Ranrock.
That was cheap.
That was
kind of cheap.
So easy. I think the hardest one for me was probably there was a well, besides the dueling club, people I wasn't even supposed to kill, there were several trolls like 15 episodes ago when I was knocking on death's door and using like the resurrection stone and stuff. It was weird. You weren't even there for that one.
I wasn't even there for that.
There were several trolls that kept spawning people as well and kept charging at me, and that was really hard. And I think a lot of it for me comes down to just not knowing the combos and things, because soon after that I realized I could use Imperio on them to control them, but not really, and then attack them while they're basically incapacitated. So that definitely made things a lot easier for me when I could use the dark spells. But imagine I went down the path of, I wouldn't say I went down the bad path, but imagine I went down the path the really, really good path where I didn't even learn those spells at all and I never used them, this game would be really, really hard to beat. Because Crucio, Imperio, they helped me through most of this game get an advantage on the enemies. I don't know how someone could have beaten this game without those things, without spending double the amount of hours that I did.
Having that option is crazy. Having to choose to be good or bad, and having it affect the story, but not. It would be fun if it affect the story, but also affect your gameplay and how easy it is to like fight and combat. Like that's
a
crazy.
little ridiculous. But I think that I managed to get basically the best of both sides because I was still able to use those spells but still seen as a good person. I don't know how that's even possible because that kind of defeats the purpose of like using the dark spells and everything, but I'm not going to question it. We completed the game being a good person.
You're just pure of heart, I guess, because Sebastian couldn't handle it. He went psycho mode, and then you're using it no problem. I think the hardest actually, I think Rookwood was harder than Ramrock.
Yeah.
Just because he had a bunch of henchmen, that's why. And he's a smaller target. When you just have one target and they just have a number of combos, all you have to do is just like wait it out.
Exactly.
It's not that like, you know, they constantly have to spam you in order for it to be like a good challenge. Like that's not the case, but like to make it a bit more creative, like involve them having to run into pillars or being able to, I know there was an option to use the attacks against them, but like I don't know, I feel like they ran out of ideas to make it more balanced and yet still challenging and
there was
fun.
another game I played as well, and I can't remember which one it was, but they always do that, where when you get the boss battle, they've got a certain combo of attacks that they do, and once you learn that, you can just dodge and hit them when they're down, and it's... I mean, I know that's the whole point, is to learn it, and then defeat them in that way, but it's kind of just too easy. It would be better if it switched up. It was a little more random. It would be a lot harder. I think that game developers in general need to find a better way to make the final bosses more difficult than the way that they're doing it, because it is really easy to learn it. And like you said, when it's just one target on its own, even if it's throwing all kinds of different attacks at you like that one was, it's a lot easier to deal with than having to watch your 6 and your 3 and your 9 all at the same time. When you have a million enemies all around you, all shooting, you have to dodge 10 times before you can attack once.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so much harder to do, especially like during that dueling club. You have 3 or 4 students on you who are all smart and doing the same spells at the same time. And then I will say it is creative, and I like how you've got like 4 different types of spells, which is like the yellow ones, the purple ones, the red ones. I think there's another one. Well, the green ones.
Yeah.
And some of them, like when we use Protego and Shield, our shield is purple. So Accio could break our shield. Whereas on other people, you would have to use Leviosa because their shield is yellow. Or you'd have to use Accio because their shield is purple. Or Bombarda because their shield is red. That I like because it does make it more difficult. You have to make sure you're using the right spell on these people before they can take any damage.
Yeah.
But they need to do work on the bosses, though.
I would have implemented, because there are a lot of games that do that, and you'll probably see that if you play any other AAA game like this, or I don't know what you would call this, like an RPG or something, but almost all the bosses have that where there's a pattern that you're supposed to kind of like memorize. Some have it where they're a little more random, like apparently, like I've never played Dark Souls, but Dark Souls is one of those games where there isn't an exact pattern. There's like a randomness to it, and you just have to be ready for when it does happen, which is like makes it really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But if they would have added maybe like, I don't know, Ranrock strikes the ceiling and then like boulders fall from the ceiling, but you have these red like glowing circles that tell you where the rock is going to land, and you kind of have to dodge to make sure you don't get hit by the rock. That probably would have added, you know, a little like, oh, I got to move out of the way.
Yeah.
To try not die.
Or at
Stuff
least
like
like
that would have been fun.
stuff where he's throwing multiple projectiles at the same time. So you're not just focusing on one spot. Like he would breathe fire and you'd be focusing on that one spot that the fire is at. Yeah, it might move, but it moves slow and you can focus on that pretty easily. Whereas the hardest part of that probably was hitting all of the bubbles with the specific colors while he was throwing attacks at you, because you have several things to focus at now at that point.
They're gonna get smaller and then they'll disappear. Yeah. Other than the bosses, I would have actually preferred. I know they do it with like when you first learn different spells that you kind of like put them to the test on a practice dummy, but and then you also use them sometimes to help you through stuff like with spider webs. You can like burn them,
Yeah.
and if you need to light up an area, you use a spell to light up the area to move out all those little vine things. That's fine and all. But let's say you're actually in combat with like spiders and trolls and all these different things. I would have wished that some of them had themes so that way you were more inclined to use specific spells against them. Like spiders, I don't know, more vulnerable to fire, and maybe the trolls are more vulnerable to like, I don't know, levitating and then falling. I don't know, like
Well, that's
something
how
that
the
was more
Inferi were. The Inferi. Those were the dead, the undead.
those skeleton
Those ones
guys.
you had to use fire on them, or you couldn't do damage to them. But once you used fire on them, you could do damage with any spell.
Right. So if they would have had more stuff like that, I think it would have made it more interesting to try to like use those specific spells in creative ways to get an advantage on the enemy in those
Yeah.
locations.
And
But
you know,
it's always just a mix.
thinking about it, when you think about the movies and how Harry used Leviosa on the Trolls club, that could have been cool being put into the game like you're talking about. So that could have been like a special move. Since obviously that guy's too fat and big to Leviosa his whole ass up in the air, you could have just Leviosa his club and knocked him out a little bit. And that would have been a cool thing to implement. So yeah, like spiders, maybe fire's not the move. I don't know what would be the move, because fire's already like the Inferi's move.
Yeah.
But yeah, just something that goes along with those enemies a little bit better, and like, I don't know, something could have been specific, could have been for goblins and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
what about traversal?
Well, hold on. I wanna keep just before we go into traversal.
Okay.
Like, let's say you have like different locations and even the environments adapt to that kind of thing. If you have something that's more focused on trolls and they're very big, their environment they're in has a bunch of like loose rocks or stuff like that, something that where you can use Leviosa and try to lure them under it, and then it would like fall on them, cause them damage, stuff like that. That creates it a bit of a challenge to kind of lure them into certain places so you can get the spell and get the drop on them. But I would have also liked if they were, when an enemy is close to being down, you can, some games do this, where just before an enemy is like dead, you have the option to do a button combo and it'll do like, I guess you can call it like a fatality. Spider-Man does it and God of War does it. It's like a fatality move, like a finishing move. I would have liked if it was like you can have a combo where it's like an animation of a finishing spell.
Yeah.
And it has like kind of cinematic where it shows it. That would have been kind of cool to add, because then you
get
know
like extra
exactly
XP from that.
Yeah, and you would know exactly when they're gonna die because you have the option to do that because they're close to death. So then you get up to them, close to them, do the thing, and then you've cleared out one, and you can continue to do that for any other that gets close to dying.
Also, I was just thinking when you were talking about rocks in like a troll area, that each creature had sort of something like the Ender Dragon from Minecraft, like how they have the end crystals to regenerate them health. So something in the trolls environment that actually aids them, and then something for us to use against them as well. So like we could use the rocks against them, but maybe they had something like, I don't know, like maybe when they walk into water they regenerate health or something, and so there's a lake nearby. Things like that.
Yeah, or like those frog things. Like if they get in the in water, they heal. So if there was like an arena where there's specific ponds or puddles, and you have to try to cut off their supply, then they get weaker. Something like that, yeah, would have been cool to see even like a boss for each kind of thing. I know they did it with spiders, where there was like a bigger spider and a bigger
Oh,
spider
yeah.
and a bigger spider, but there was no like in specific locations. There's an arena for like the boss of the trolls or the boss of the spider, the boss of the.
And all they would
Uh,
really do is basically spawn more. Like that big spider would just spawn more spiders. It wouldn't really
yeah,
have anything special to itself.
no, it was no different from any of the other spiders, other than having a larger health bar.
And like a more intense attack, I guess.
I guess, yeah, but that whole fear of the spider things when they're crawling around quickly went away because it's like I remember us seeing the first shadow of that big one go across the crack in the wall, and we were like, "Oh my god, that one's gonna be so big!" And when we look at it, like, honestly, it's not as big as any of the ones we saw.
You ready to move on to
Those,
traversal?
yeah, traversal. Thank God they have the option to teleport. That's good.
However, this game takes so much memory and like, what is it, CPU or GPU or something like that.
GPU
This game takes so much everything out of your
processing
computer
power.
that I feel bad for you guys, honestly. Before I had my new graphics card and my new memory cards and all of that kind of stuff, the loading screens, when I would use the flu stations, would take like 10 minutes on their own at some points.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't going to be there like cutting it out every single time, so I would have rather spent, honestly, I would have rather spent 15 minutes walking through the universe than spend 10 minutes on a loading screen.
Yeah. Yeah, they did take quite a bit of time, but
And that, I think, is a problem because I know you have to load in this whole new area and everything. But I don't personally think there is any real reason why it should have taken that long for a loading screen when
yeah,
you teleport.
that's a little much. I mean, I know the other games have that too, and that's a challenge. It's just gonna be that way because the problem is you're immediately being put in a area, and that area needs time to load. When you're moving around, like walking slowly or going towards an area, it has time to like slowly make textures, highly detailed, or put in the particles to put in all the fine details. It has time to load. But when you're teleporting, I guess, yeah, I understand why it would take that long because you're immediately being dropped in there, so it immediately has to render everything in higher quality. But
I will say as well that besides that, I just want to talk about the broom real quick. I
the
was
broom, yeah,
so excited when we were first learning how to fly because I remember, I don't know how many episodes it took, but for the longest time, I kept saying how I can't wait to fly. I can't wait to fly. It was something I was so excited about learning to finally go to flying class and learn how to ride a broom. I was so excited for that. And then when I first rode the broom, I was like, oh my god, these controls, they're awful. And now I've
yeah,
sort of gotten used to it. I'm still not perfect on it though, because still, like, the control system is crazy. But I was so excited to ride a broom. And throughout the game, you get upgrades by talking to Albie Weeks, who is like the broom guy in Hogsmeade.
yeah.
And it's supposed to make your broom faster and things like that. And I didn't see any change in the broom at all with the upgrades on.
I didn't see any change. I mean, I guess there's the illusion of change, or maybe it's just because the valley's so big that you don't feel how far you're going in a short amount of time.
That's what I think it was. Yeah, it's probably just you're looking out and you don't see because it obviously looks so big. But I don't think there was anything drastic that changed in it. Other than when you first get on the broom, obviously you're slow because you've got like a starter broom, and then by the end of the game, you can definitely see a massive difference. But you've also got other upgrades that come in with the broom, I don't know. I still opt to use the broom over any other kind of mount.
Yeah.
Just because it's faster, because it's smaller. Like with the hippogriff, I was so excited and so happy to get like a hippogriff or a thestral mount to be able to ride a creature around. It makes sense that you ride slower and it's slower to take turns and and slower to land and all these kinds of things because it's a beast. It's a big beast. It's not going to be as agile and swift as a broom is, but you have like a bigger dive and stuff like that. All of that makes sense. That's lovely. And I love being able to ride a hippogriff or a thestral in the first place. I think that's cool. It's not my ideal form of transportation that I would opt to.
Mhm.
But then at the end of the game, there's also the Graphorn, which I absolutely love. My new favorite beast. New favorite anything in the game. New favorite mount, form of transportation, form of combat. Because this thing can plow down a field of people like insta-kill.
That's like a freak.
Yeah.
Favorite everything. This guy is just amazing, and I am so sad that he had to be introduced right at the end of the game. And I really only got to ride him twice in the entire game. And never got to use him for combat.
Oh, it's a shame.
He's kind of
That would
OP.
have been really helpful. That's probably why, but I don't know. I feel like if you're going to do something like that.
I'm not saying I should be able to bring him into a boss battle and use him there. I just think I should have had more time with him in the normal world.
I feel like if they're gonna pull something like that where they bring this guy out of nowhere, then the game would have to be like longer, so that way you get him in the first half, so now all those beginner enemies are easy peasy. But after the story progressed and now you're being introduced to newer enemies, because like where Spider-Man has it, where you have the regular like criminals on the ground or prisoners that escaped and they're like normal humans, and then you have the villains like super powered henchmen, and so now they have powers, but you have to upgrade and get like new suits or new abilities in order to be able to beat them. So that's where like if you're gonna get something like OP like that, you introduce it halfway, that way it can clear any of the little guys, and then now it's a bit of a challenge for when you have the bigger enemies around.
Yeah.
It kind of balances it out.
So really there's like there's flying, there's walking, there's running, there's teleporting, there's the mounts. I think that's pretty much all for traversal.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. That's a good amount of traversal for what ground you need to cover, and especially for the environment of the game.
So what are your thoughts on the system of commerce? Because, okay, for me, I think that I like the way that they have their commercialized market system and like system of selling and buying and things like that. But I don't think it's accurate at all. Because if you are doing as much as I was doing, if you were doing like 50% or even 75% less than what I was doing, you would have enough money to buy everything you want and more. Because when you are going around in the world, when you are killing things, no matter what you are doing, you're getting coins for it. The most expensive thing I had ever had to buy was like a broom, which I didn't even have to buy. I don't even remember what it was, to be honest, but I know that it was only like 5,000 coins. And yeah, I say only because I ended the game with 27,000 coins. And that was with me not collecting everything I had the opportunity to, because I got to a point where I was like, I have 27,000 coins and I'm never going to use them. So why am I going to keep going around here and collecting all the coins? It's absolutely pointless for me. So I stopped collecting things. And then I stopped like trying to kill all the mobs that I could so that I could get those extra little rewards. Like if you knew that you needed coins, you would be going around and like, oh, here's an easy like wolf to kill. I know he's going to be easy, so I'm just going to go kill it real quick. No, I would just avoid that because there was no reason for me to go do that. And then there's also like you can go sell your stuff at Hogsmeade or somewhere else when your inventory's full so you can make more room for yourself. And then it's like, well, you get coins. You get 60 or 90 or 120 coins for whatever you sell. And that was really good. I would always make sure to try and do that. But at the same time, if you need inventory space for whatever reason, you're able to destroy it, and so you don't get any money from that. There came a point for me as well where I stopped trying to sell my stuff, and I just started destroying all of it because I didn't care anymore. It's like there was absolutely no reason for me to want to continue collecting money when there is nothing in the world that I wanted to buy. I mean, the things that you can buy range from like cosmetic items, but nothing you couldn't get naturally in the world anyway. And I pretty much had all of that, so wasn't interested in any of that. And then there's also like potion ingredients and things of that nature, but when they're so difficult to use, which is that pressing tab and then moving your mouse system, that's really complicated.
Yeah.
You basically don't want to get potions, especially when you have to learn that combo, and then some potions, like I think it's the Edurus potion, it's only active for 4 seconds. So it takes me about 4 seconds to open up that menu anyway. No, that's not what it is. I open up the menu, figure out what I want. If I were to click on the Edurus potion, it would take me 4 seconds after applying it, which is the entire length of the potion, to figure out, or like to get my hands back on the keys to figure out like my next combo attack. So it would be pointless for me to go through all of that and have it. So I didn't need to buy potion ingredients because I wasn't going to make potions because I wasn't going to use potions. Mm-hmm. The only thing I ever had to buy was some required like schematics for the room of requirement or something. And there were still plenty more that I didn't need to use because I didn't need to grow and collect plants. I didn't need to really collect furs and other kinds of things from the beasts that I would tame. And the beasts is a whole nother thing to talk about, but there wasn't really, just in my opinion, the system of commerce was really inaccurate, and it would have been better if either things in the shop costed more or you got less money naturally in the world. Because I ended the game with 27,000 coins, and that wasn't even with me trying. If I had tried, I probably could have ended the game with 60,000 or more. And I had enough to buy every single item in the game like 10 times over and still have money left over probably.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say on that, or did I pretty much cover it all?
I think you covered it because I don't think I had enough of I didn't pay attention enough to that stuff, to give anything on it.
That was one of the things that bothered me a lot more because I'm like, dang, I've got all this money. It's almost like, I'm a really big hoarder and stuff, especially when it comes to money. I'm going to collect all that I can. But it's almost like I didn't even want it because I wasn't using it. So I stopped collecting it. So what about... I noticed that early on. What about the main story and side quests in the sense of gameplay and the way that it works, like the mechanisms of it, not actually talking about the story or the side quests at all, just the way that it works?
I mean, I liked well, actually, what do you even get out of some? So I know some of them you do end up getting like some spells, and you learned how to do some spells. But other times it felt like, even though it was a cool level, and even though it was cool to see them, like when we had to free that dragon, and we had to do that whole thing with the dragon, that was pretty cool. And and that dragon fight was like trying to not get blown up by the dragon's fire and stuff like that. That was a cool transition into like an unintentional boss fight because we're trying to appeal to this dragon. But I don't even remember what you get out of them. Do you even get anything out of the side quests?
The direction that I want to take this in is more of like, for example, with regard to what you're talking about, early on in the game, you would do main quests, and main quests could give you tons of different things. When you would learn spells and stuff like that, that's something that you can only, like, that is a main quest. Maybe they would give you the illusion of it being a side quest, but it's one of those things where you can't move on until you do that, because you needed to unlock all these spells realistically, because most of them are going to be essential to the story in the end. Mm-hmm. Side quests really got you, like, cosmetic items, things for decoration on yourself and in your room of requirement, extra coins, extra XP, and honestly really unnecessary. They just helped you advance your relationship with these people more and just get you like basically quick cash and extra little cosmetic things that are not necessary to the game in any way, which is why when you look that up and it says 26 hours of gameplay if you're just doing the main story, because there's so much that you don't have to do, and it doesn't like aid you in any way at all realistically to do it. And I started out the game trying to do every single one of the side quests because I wanted to get all the advancements. I wanted to get all the extra little hidden secrets and things. But I quickly learned how tedious it was, how pointless it was. And it was more fun to just follow the main story because all the other things were like, you know, hey, I've lost somebody in the Forbidden Forest or something. And I guess it's a way to help you explore the map and learn more about stuff, but it really didn't add any intrinsic value to the game at all, in my opinion. I got to a point where I stopped doing side quests completely. And you'll see when you're at a portion of the main story and you start like flying around the map and stuff, you'll see these little side quests pop up, and then you have the option to go get them and do them or not. But I just didn't care anymore and I just started skipping them. Whereas the main story, like, I think the main story was very well constructed in the sense of you have certain amount of quests that you have to do and you have to do them in this order. I think it was constructed really well. The side quests as well, they give them to you during a certain time. It's not like if there's 100 side quests in the whole game that they're all available to you immediately. No, you can only do some during certain points of the story quest, which is also interesting because then if you move on in the main quest, you like have to search the whole map to make sure you're not missing any side quests. Otherwise, now that you're in the next section of the main quest, you've missed out on those side quests that you didn't do, since they're only available during that one section.
Yeah.
Anything else to say on that?
I think they did a great job of making some of the side quests or side missions, and like you said, they're probably like, they're said to be side quests, like you have the option to probably not do them and continue with the story, but they feel like they are a part of the main quest with how much you can get out of them, like with learning some of the curses. And then even those stories were a little like engaging to the point where they felt like they could be even part of the main story. Other times, if we're talking about the actual side quest, because I feel like there is an actual separation between just like a sub main quest and then a side quest, which is basically like that one time you had to retrieve something from like the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. It's like, I don't know, those get really boring. I don't know why bother putting a side quest if they're going to be so minuscule.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need them to like be worth it in the end. I need them to like pay out. Oh, and even like to the merchant thing, there are times in, like, I haven't played much of God of War, but from what I've seen of it, like if you do side quests, you gain experience, you gain money, and then when you go to like the merchant store for like an upgrade, you can like sacrifice, I don't know, maybe you want to like sacrifice the old shield you have for something that's more offensive instead of defensive, or like it's all about strategy. Like what would you rather have, something that's more like protects you, strengthens you, or something that does more damage? And so it's all about like sacrificing or what what type of gameplay you're looking to have. I don't really feel any of that in this. It feels just more like cosmetics, and that some of the stuff you wear has the option, but you can like buy out everything and then swap it out with
I
something
think
else. Like,
I think that I think that the side quests are more like side tasks in the sense that, like, yeah, you don't get anything out of them except for a little bit of XP or a little bit of money, and they don't add to the story at all. I think that they definitely like fit in the universe because, like that one you were talking about, oh, go retrieve this from the lake and then I'll give you a reward. And then it also adds to it if you're choosing to be on this evil path. You can say, oh, I'm not going to give this to you. Give me extra money or whatever it is. I don't know if that actually did anything in determining in the end whether you were going to be good or bad. Probably not. But it
yeah.
gives you that illusion. Just like right at the end there. It gives you that illusion. That was ridiculous. So there's that. But also, yeah, I was going to go back to the customization. And I think it's cool how you can basically, let's say there's 100 different of each item that you can collect, like 100 different coats, 100 different clothes, 100 different hats, 100 different gloves, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Once you collect one of them, you now have that option available to you forever. But until you collect one of them, you can't customize it to that. So I like the fact that you're able to wear anything, no matter how it looks, and then change it to the way you want it to look, because then no matter what, you have the customization and you look how you want to look. You're able to decorate yourself in the way you want to look. And then you get to keep the stats of whatever item you get.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can't wear something unless you've collected it at least once does still, it's not like they make it too easy. But also, it takes away that element of the game where you have to decide, do I want to wear something because it looks cool, or do I want to wear something because it has better stats? And then for that reason, in certain games as well, you may keep 2 items, like 2 coats, 2 hats, 2 scarves, so that you can switch out. So you can go to the ones with better stats and look ridiculous when you're fighting, and then go to the ones that look good that have better stats when you're just walking around the world. And that's something that's annoying normally in other games, but it gives you more of a challenge to keep going out there and looking for more items, looking to get more cosmetic items that will hopefully have better stats and also look better, be a better combination of the two, as opposed to literally just being able to get whatever you want whenever you want.
Yeah.
So I'm conflicted on whether or not that's something that I enjoy and I would prefer it that way or not. I think I would, because I'm a very simple person and I like things when they're given to me easy. But if you're a gamer and you like a challenge, you would probably be pretty upset about the fact that they allow you to do that.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't know though.
Now, when it comes to the puzzles in the world, there are so many different puzzles in the world. I even know if I'm ready to talk about that yet. I don't think that I've discovered all of them. I don't think that I've figured out what half of them, like what you're supposed to do for half of them. Especially when it comes to like Merlin trials. Oh, forget it. So many different puzzles, so many different things you do in the world. And it's cool because the Hogwarts castle has their own set of different puzzles to do within there. And then the world has its own set of puzzles to do in the world. It's really cool. It's really creative. I really, really, really like that. Because if you're not big on the combat side of a game like this, you're probably really going to like the puzzle side, the puzzle solving side, you want to follow the story, you want to solve the puzzles, you want to understand the mysteries and things like that. And combat is naturally going to come with that because they want to make everybody happy. But if you don't want that combat, you can literally just do the puzzles around the world. And there are so many of them that you will never get bored. You will never stop. You'll never end because there's just that many of them.
Yeah, there were times where I felt like there were a lot of scattered generic puzzles, and then there are times that you have real head scratchers, like that one where we had to set up these 2 blocks in an arrangement, and we were like, okay, is there a door that's supposed to open? And we had to cast a spell on it, and then we look behind us, and then there's magic 3 doors. I felt like that was cool. It probably could have used more of those, like something illusion, like more of an illusion that happens as opposed to just like a special effect.
And then I think that pretty much every game has this integrated into it. But I really like how they've done it with Legacy, which is the skill point or talent section of the game.
Yeah,
you can level up your stats and increase your abilities in certain areas by using your skill points that you get every time you level up. And of course, every time you level up, you need more XP, and so it's harder to get skill points, and so you're never going to get all of your talents filled out. So you have to pick and choose which ones you actually want to use your points on. This is a part of the game where I think it was actually completely fair. There's nothing I would change about this, because it was really, really difficult to get a skill point because it would take so much XP to level up. And unless you were literally sitting there grinding to get XP, this was hard because naturally you wouldn't come by enough skill points to get you everything that you wanted. And that's why I say there's absolutely nothing I would change about this system in this game. I think it was perfect because I don't think it's something that's supposed to be easy. Just like the boss battles. Yeah, it would definitely be annoying and really painful to have to keep dying to the boss and get really pissed off, like how it was in the dueling battles. But imagine I didn't switch that dueling battle to easy, and I kept going at it until I won. That feeling would have been so good. And that's what a boss battle is supposed to be. Combat is supposed to be difficult, so that when you finally beat it, you're relieved and you're happy, and you feel like, dang, this was a really good game. So the skill points, in my opinion, were that way. I was doing so much around this map. So many things. And still only did 33% of the map. So imagine the average person would probably do less than me, would get fewer skill points. It would be more difficult for them to do what I have done. And even I still have no skill points left, and there's more stuff that I want to get that I can't get right now unless I want to go and level up more. So there's absolutely nothing that I would change about that. I think that worked really well. And then talking about the options that they have, there were certain things that I absolutely would not have spent my skill points on, like the plants that I can get by pressing tab and using those things. Well, I knew I wasn't going to use any plants or potions anyway because of the fact that I have to press tab and learn all those key combinations all over again. So I never spent any skill points on that, but they had options for them if you were a player who wanted to use that mechanism to make those things more intriguing. And I like that, and that's good. And also I just thought about the fact that in the room requirement you do get a loom where you can actually add traits that you find by doing missions out in the world. This is one of the things that the side quests can get you. And just going and looting random chests and doing random missions and things like that as well. You can unlock certain traits that you can weave onto your armor, or not your armor, but your clothing, that can up your benefits, like increase your damage by using Crucio, or decrease your damage taken by Dubogs or something. And you could put those on your armor using that loom. So that's also a really cool feature. I didn't take too much advantage of that until the very end of the game because there's just so many different aspects of this game, so many different things you can take advantage of that it gets confusing. But I think that's good because there's a whole lot of depth to it. There's a whole lot of options that you have.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole like trait tree or skill tree, that's old news. That's been in like the oldie games, but
But
I
they did it good.
specifically I mean, I don't know. Me personally, after like playing games like Spider-Man, like sure they give you like some skills that like you could never imagine seeing yourself doing. Like it's just like that doesn't really help me at all. Um, but yeah, that's a old thing. I don't really know. I don't really feel like it was utilized too much, or maybe I just didn't see it or notice it. But maybe I have to be playing in order to notice it. But yeah, I never caught on to seeing that. I feel like some other games could have probably take the cake for which did it better.
Well, I don't think that it was like better than other games per se. I just think that
Right.
within this game, that was one of the things that they did really well.
Probably especially for
Because,
like a game that you first played that's like this.
yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen like a skill tree and upgrading like your traits and your skills before in other games. I've seen that in plenty of other games.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that Legacy did good. Because, yeah, me playing the game, there were a whole bunch of new things that I was able to do, and all of those skills really, really helped me out. They became one of the main integral parts of my gameplay. And that's probably something that you didn't notice because you weren't playing, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, in that same way, there's also like the completion of different collections, which is like, in general, have you discovered all of the beasts that there are in the world? And I haven't. Like, I still haven't discovered the unicorn and stuff. Have you discovered all of the enemies there are to fight? Because in general, there's trolls, there's poachers, there's wolves, but there's also variations of each of those, and spiders. And so there's like the big spider, there's like the little spider, there's like the medium spider. They've all got their names, but I can't think of them. There are different
Yeah.
types of trolls, things like that. And so you have the option, or not the option, but you're able to collect beasts in that sense, enemies in that sense, and then also cosmetics in that sense of, have you actually seen all of the different coats that there are in the world? Have you actually collected and seen all the different hats that there are in the world? And
Yeah.
I've never been really big on trying to complete my collections when it comes to that. Like, I don't really care about finding out about all the mobs. I don't really care about finding out all of the cosmetics. If anything, I care more about just finding out about the ones that are the most important. Like, in this game, when it comes to the cosmetics, there are certain ones that are really cool, and I want all of the really cool ones. And I think I've pretty much managed to achieve that, because you do certain quests and things that get you those. And when it comes to enemies, like, I want to experience all of the bosses, and I think I've definitely experienced all of the bosses. I'm kind of upset that I didn't meet the unicorn, because that's like the coolest beast. But that's my point, is I don't really care about collecting all of everything or experiencing all of everything, just the coolest stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else
I
you have to say about gameplay and the mechanisms?
mm, we think we got everything. I can't think of another mechanic. Yeah, I don't really think I see any other topic of mechanic to talk about.
Well, then in that case, we can just get into the story of the game itself, which is really where the bulk of this video is going to come into play, or this discussion, this game review, even though we're already an hour and 15 minutes in. I guess I'll try not to make it too long, but I mean, let's just talk about, like, let's start with the villains and all the boss battles and just that part of the story.
All right. Well, it started off with a bang. Like I feel like the introduction was crazy. Kind of died down after that though. Like that whole in the chariot, and then this whole dragon comes along. I don't even think I remember the explanation for that whole dragon.
So, Ranrock was trying to get the ancient magic key that Miriam was transporting, and we had it, and he killed her for it, and I don't know, he was trying to get it, and he didn't get it. We got it. So he failed. My opinion on the whole villains thing is, it was very shocking at first, when we first started the game, and then died down throughout, like you said, but my reasoning is more because they kept the same intensity of bosses, but they increase your skill level, and as you learn the game over time, you get better. For many different reasons, you get better, but they didn't really change the intensity of all the bosses as time went on. Like, the only thing that I really think was impactful to me when it came to enemies as the game went on, and was continuously impactful, was like a spider would come on screen and you would hear the crawling noise and you'd be like, ew, oh my god, and we would freak out. Yeah. But it wasn't even because, oh, it's a scary spider boss and it's going to be hard. It was just because of the creepy factor.
Yeah, just creepy, spooky factor.
And there also came a point where they stopped introducing new bosses, or they would introduce new bosses very infrequently, and it would start being the same bosses over and over again. Like, oh, here it's just another troll, or oh, it's just another massive spider, or something. Like, they would reuse old ones too much. They would put in too many boss battles to the point where they didn't feel like boss battles anymore.
Yeah, and I don't even know what they, like, some of them have story-wise. I know it's probably just, like, we're in their territory.
Yeah. As for the main villains, though, like the main bad guys of the main story, I think they were all pretty good. Well, it's interesting because I think Rookwood and Harlow were very underwhelming. Ranrock himself was underwhelming, but that's because he wasn't really on screen much. He kind of had his henchmen doing his work for him, which makes sense. So I would say Ranrock is good. And then, I don't know, I think there was a lot of depth to it. Like, I remember the Pensive Guardians, that shit was crazy. Those guys were awesome.
I actually wish we got more of that, and I don't know, I feel like they feel so disconnected in a way to the actual story. I know they're supposed to be, like, defending this whole thing, and only those that are worthy shall, like, enter. But I feel like, I don't know, they just got bigger and bigger, and I guess, yeah, they are harder. I feel like, story-wise, I'm not feeling, they're just not that significant to me.
Yeah, but also, you say you wish you got more of them. I say I think that's about as much of every boss as we should have gotten. I think we got too much of other bosses, which is why we feel like we should have gotten more of those. I don't think we should have gotten more. I think we should have gotten less of the other ones. Less boss battles so that they were more significant. As opposed to just honestly end up being forgettable because there's so many boss battles. I don't feel like bosses anymore at that point.
Yeah. But I guess, yeah, that's fine. We were missing a lot of Rookwood and we were missing a lot of Ranrock. I feel like they had something slowly building when, like, the first troll came into town, and that felt pretty cool. I feel like it started to feel less like we get put into battles because of the story, and just felt like because it just is convenient, because it fits the moment. Like, it went from, oh, we're supposed to be visiting this one person in this tavern, and then, oh, there's a troll because Ranrock knows that where we are. It became like that, and then it just went to, okay, go to this one arena, have a fight. Go to another arena.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is that it felt more organic when it first started out, because you weren't like being forced into this, like you weren't seeking out the danger, essentially. And I liked it that way. I preferred it that way. You know, you're just trying to learn how to play this game, and
Yeah.
you get pushed into a boss battle you didn't even know you were going to have at this point in time. That
Yeah.
was cool. If we had more unexpected combat, that would be cool. Whereas it ended up being okay. I mean, I understand somewhat though, because the whole point was like, oh, we have to be one step ahead of him, and so I'm gonna go towards the danger instead of letting the danger come towards me. So I get it, but also there definitely could have been more unexpected stuff instead of it all feeling like it's staged, because we were constantly going towards the danger. And then they would add all of the surprises once we were already there. Like right at the end, once we had been in the mine with the goblins, and he brings that machine like barreling through the rock wall. That's supposed to be like a surprise to us, but it wasn't surprising because we went there. We chose to go there ourselves.
Yeah.
We need to get things that actually surprise us, that shock us.
Yeah, that felt so shallow. Like, I didn't even realize what his plan was until we saw the device and the drill and everything, and it was kind of explained from there. I feel like it should have been a long while of, like, hinting, and maybe, like, less. If you're gonna tell, like, explain something, can there be less dialogue? I couldn't stop getting distracted every time the characters would talk because I was too busy looking at their default animations where they would like sometimes occasionally pick up their hands and then put their hands back in place. Like I think we need more story elements that's in the form of a cutscene where we can like follow along and stuff like that. Because that's all that talking I would have not. I like right now I don't know what the plan was and there was no surprise. I feel like if we would have followed the story where they were trying to build this ultimate drill that would have brought down the whole place, and we just had to try to stop them from getting all the pieces, but they kept getting away and kept succeeding. And then we reveal that, oh, they were building a drill, and now we have to, like, I don't know, try to destroy or fight the drill, but it doesn't work. I don't know.
It feels more like when you're when you're in the middle of battle with someone and you're like, oh, hold on a minute, I need to tie my shoe, and they just and they just let you do that.
For real, it would cut off the drama so much. Like it's like nobody cared at all about the severity of the situation.
Yeah. What about like main story and the side missions in the sense of the story in itself? Because I think that the main story unfolded really well. Like the main quests and the main story and all that unfolded really well, really nicely. And it would have been extremely fun to play this game if we bunned off all the side quests and only did the main story and we did that 26-hour playthrough. But then the only thing is that I wouldn't have been as good of a player. I wouldn't have known the controls as well, and so it wouldn't have been as enjoyable for that reason. But let's say I had all the skills I have right now and we just played the story straight through, just the main story. I think it would have been a really, really, really fun game. Like no boring parts at all, really.
Yeah, I actually would have. I think they. I don't mind what we got, but I think it could have been crazy if the whole, like the entire story, the big story, actually revolved around what's his name? What's his freaking that kid's name? I keep forgetting.
Kid?
That guy, the kid, the
Kirkwood?
boy. No, the boy, the boy, the evil boy, the boy that killed his uncle.
Sebastian.
Yeah, I think they could have honestly made a story where we're trying to help him and he slowly becomes evil and then we have to fight him. They could have made a whole thing on that because that story was getting interesting.
Oh yeah. I was also convinced at one point that Professor Fig was freaking evil.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I don't know. I feel like the professors were very shallow in terms of their involvement and everything, and then they show up at the end like we're supposed to like be excited. I know we were excited, but like I
That
felt
did
like
feel kind of epic to me, but just because of the situation, I didn't really feel like I had too much connection with the professors.
yeah, I feel like we needed more time to get to know them, to know because you see the bond that builds with like in the movies, Harry Potter and all their professors, because they
Mm-hmm.
have like, oh, not these kids. These kids are always getting into trouble, but they know them on a personal level, and they know their skill set enough to trust them, and the bond that's formed with them and how important they are. But like for it just feels like we're just that student that just like is good, and then they when we do something like, oh, that they pretty good, good job. I gotta go now. Oh, that was very
Yeah.
dangerous. Don't do that again.
I don't know. I think I don't really have anything else to say about the actual story of the game. I mean, I know you wanted to talk about the overall story arc, but I think that's pretty much all the opinion I have.
Yeah, there ain't much to talk about in terms of story, which kind of sucks. But there were some interesting parts, some parts that were getting juicy, but I feel like they should have gotten juicy sooner, so that way more stuff could have happened and could have had a better resolution for some of
I
those characters.
definitely do think in general, I think this is the case with everything. But the game was really good at the beginning. And I don't know if it's like, oh, it went on for too long and so it felt like a Walking Dead situation, which I don't think that's the case. I think the game was a good length.
Yeah, yeah,
There were
I
other
don't
things
think
they
so.
could have done to keep it consistently good, but it was really good at the beginning. Of course, it's everything's always good right at the beginning. The first movie of any movie series, the first season of any show is always going to be the best and the coolest because you just don't know anything about it and you're experiencing it and it all feels new and really difficult. Then you eventually get used to it and it's not as cool.
Yeah.
Which that's just life, that's just how it's going to be. But also, I think that I wish there would have been more that you could have learned, like brand new from scratch for the first time, even all the way at the end of the game. As
Yeah.
opposed to pretty much unlocking all of the spells halfway through the game, pretty much learning everything there is to know, going all your classes, getting really good at everything. I don't know.
Hmm.
Is
Well, that
that,
just goes to show that they had potential in the beginning. They probably just didn't know where to go with it.
yeah. So, other than that, though, I mean, I guess I want to talk a little bit about the recording process and the uploading process. I went through a ton of different formatting ways and a lot of different just like editing and things like that of these videos. Started out with a compilation of funny moments, but then I thought, oh, maybe some people actually want to watch the full gameplay. So I uploaded both. But then I was like, dang, my gameplay's boring. So changed the format again and then changed the format again because I didn't feel like editing those videos anymore because it's taking so much time out of my day to watch like 3 hour long videos and cut them down to like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
That's just impossible to keep up, especially when now I'm at a pace where I'm putting 2 of these out a week. It's impossible. And I want to make everybody happy. And I know that's impossible as well to make everybody happy, so I hope that the people who wanted to see the 6 minute compilations enjoyed that, and I hope that the people that wanted to see the uncut gameplay enjoyed that. I don't really know what's the better option there, but I had fun anyway, and I'm honestly relieved that that we're done now. I enjoyed the game a lot, and if I could go back to that first moment when I first started playing the game again, I would, because it was just that fun. But I don't want to relive it. I really don't.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't want to relive any of it. I'm glad knowing that it's over now, and there were a lot of fun moments and a lot of funny moments, especially during those first few episodes when I would have done the compilations of the funny moments, but keep in mind that's something that I can get 3 minutes out of a 3-hour video, because if I took in the same way, if I took all the funny moments out of the footage that I'm doing now and the way I'm uploading the episodes now, it would be 3 minutes for about every 3 hours, a minute per hour. And it's great to watch back those compilations because they're nothing but funny, and I love that. Like seeing the cats flying. And I remember the first time that we met Deke and we freaked out and we loved him.
Yeah, that was funny.
But that's just unrealistic and really difficult to keep up. Especially when you're playing a game and you're like me and you want to actually explore everything. And some people in my comments were telling me that they actually wanted to see all the gameplay. So that's why I started doing the uncut videos.
Oh, okay. I see.
So, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's pretty much all I have to say on this game. Really enjoyed it. I loved it. It's definitely worth every penny.
That's
Maybe
good.
not worth every hour, but but
Yeah,
it was really fun.
And I had fun too doing commentary.
Had a lot of funny moments and a lot of fun times playing it, and then having you here and Sean here to speak and talk with me and have fun.
Yeah.
And I want to do more games where we can do that.
Oh, we will.
There's definitely going to be a lot of cool stuff for you guys to look forward to in the future. Like directly after this, so much stuff you're going to experience. Really awesome stuff. But I don't know what the future looks like in the sense of, am I going to be having regular uploads? Are they going to be on a continuous series? This is a game that I could do that on because it's such a long game with such long gameplay. And we have several different ideas of things we want to post, but I don't know if it can be as consistent as this was.
Yeah. It's
So
going to be tough.
We'll just have to see, depending on what we play next.
Yeah, something that might not be as big of a game, but it's something similar.
Well, if that's all you have to say.
Outro time?
Yeah, your last outro. Can you believe it? At least
My
for
last
this
outro.
game.
Yeah, for this game.
Aren't you gonna
My
cry?
gosh. Yeah, it's been a long journey.
This is the last time you get to say, leave a comment about so-and-so.
So-and-so. I gotta think about it then. I gotta really put my heart and soul to it. Oh, I got one. I got a perfect one. Alright, guys. Leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below of which episode in this series was your favorite. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys liked us talking and goofing and laughing and spoofing. We'll see you guys later.